Okay, hello again. This is tarot lesson number 81. Before I begin, today's Friday the 10th of February and this is uploaded on the 11th, but I have a brother in London, England, and he's been in hospital and he's getting out sometime, and I may have to go at short notice to give him a hand because he lives alone. So if I seem to disappear, it's only because I've had to go to England and I'll be back. But I don't know when, that's the problem. So today someone, and I forgot to look up the name, asked if I could talk about the Wheel of Fortune. So there's the Wheel of Fortune. And then I said yes, and then the follow-up was, there's a problem with what's the difference between not what's the difference, but the person who asked wasn't sure about or wanted more information about the Wheel of Fortune and the world. I suppose because this is circular and this is kind of circular as well. And maybe okay, so let me talk a little bit. I'm not sure what I'm going to say, which is kind of normal for a tarot reading because you have an idea of what cards mean, but you don't know the question and you don't know what cards are going to come up. So you've got to sort of think on your feet and not make things up as you go along, but try to relate the cards that come up to the question that was asked. So if I can remove that for the moment, and we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So I'd like to talk about this and make use of information that we've already covered in the previous 80 lessons, bits and pieces of them anyway. So the Wheel of Fortune, it's a wheel. Okay, so what I'd like to do is give you, instead of giving you a definitive answer, I'll give you bits and pieces of information and ideas that you can then develop on your own. Maybe it's something you hadn't thought of, or maybe it's something you had thought of, and I would give you a slightly different take on it. But maybe the first thing is we notice it's called the Wheel of Fortune. It's a wheel. And wheels go round and round. So the Wheel of Fortune can be about repetitive behavior or cyclic behavior. You get to the end of one cycle, you begin another one, because the wheel goes round and round. The world goes round and round as well, but the world spins on its orbit. And the world, if you think about it, is part of a solar system. The Wheel of Fortune, imagine you've got a vehicle, right? You've got a car or a motorbike or a bicycle, right? And you've got a wheel or more than one wheel on those vehicles. So you get in your car and drive whatever you want, as fast or as slow as you want. Whereas the world, it's spins and it's regulated and it's organized. So depending what the question is, how will my life go? With the Wheel of Fortune, there will be ups and downs. Let's see, how will my life go for the next 6 months? There will be ups and downs. Because the card is upright, things will tend to go your way. You will have good fortune. But remember that what's good will turn into being bad. And there's a line in Bob Dylan, Idiot Wind, and he sings, or he wrote, then he sings, you find when you reach the top, you're on the bottom. And that was his experience, because we can tend to think that it's great being a celebrity, but you know, you've got no privacy anymore, or you can't go to the store, or can't go and visit people. So you find when you reach the top, actually you're on the bottom. And maybe this is the kind of thing you would talk about with a questioner if the Wheel of Fortune comes up. Yes, you will be successful and you'll get what you want, but it may not be quite as perfect as you think it's going to be, because it's a wheel. And so you reach the top, but then you're going to have to come back down to the other side again, or come back down to the bottom again. It's a wheel. Fortune upright is good fortune, upside down, things are going to go against you. It's bad fortune. So the word fortune comes from a Latin word fors, F-O-R-S, which means luck or chance. And fortuna is part of that particular noun. Right, so with fortuna, where fortune, you've got chance going with you. So it could be that you'll let's say, will I meet somebody over the next 6 months? And you get the Wheel of Fortune. Yes, and it will be unexpected, or it will be in unusual circumstances. Which can mean, okay, so if somebody says, do you want to go out tonight? We're going to go to this new Italian restaurant, and you think, I don't like Italian food. Go anyway, because it's an unusual experience to go to an Italian restaurant and it's new. There you're going to meet somebody, or you've got the chance of meeting somebody, if what you're looking for is a new relationship or a new partnership. So you think about the idea of chance and what it would, how it would come up, or how it might come up in the answer to the question. Right, so will I meet somebody? Yeah, if you get the chance to go to something different or someplace new, take it and see what happens, and you're likely to enjoy it because it's upright, and there's a chance you'll meet somebody, and it's fortune as well. So good fortune, bad fortune. I think maybe you remind them about what Bob Dylan said, when you find when you reach the top, you're on the bottom. So what appears to be fabulous maybe isn't. And so if you, let's say you've been pinning your hopes on something happening, and the Wheel of Fortune comes up, yes, it's going to happen, but maybe you're not going to be quite as excited as you thought you were going to be. There's an expression in English: it is better to travel hopefully than to arrive, because sometimes or often you find that when you reach the goal, or when you get whatever it is that you wanted, it's not quite as good as you thought it was going to be. It's like you always wanted a new computer or something, and you buy it, you take it home, and after an hour, okay, it's just a computer. So you'd worked in your mind, you'd worked it up into being something spectacular. And maybe this is what the Wheel of Fortune is about. So again, you've got the idea of a wheel for going round and round at different speeds, and maybe you get to choose how quickly you're going to go, how quickly you're going to drive. But if you're going to drive fast, be careful. Whereas with the world, the world is part of, if you think of the Earth spinning, it's part of a solar system, and its speed is regulated. And so, yes, I tend to look at the Wheel of Fortune as being change and new possibilities, whereas the world is more like ultimate success, but the end of something rather than the beginning of something new, whereas the Wheel of Fortune, I think, is the beginning of something new. Here with the world, because it's number 21, the last of the major trumps, it's a bit like everything has been leading up to this point, and if the world is upright, things work out well and beneficially, whereas if the world is upside down, they work out well but not perfectly. Because I tend to look at this card, because it's the world and it's fabulous, when it's upside down, it doesn't mean it's going to be terrible. It's not the opposite. I think it just means that it's not going to be quite as great as you hoped it would be, or as you thought it would be, or as you expected. And that can be a difference between the Wheel of Fortune, the Wheel of Fortune and the world reversed. Wheel of Fortune reversed, things go against you. The world reversed, you get what you want, but it's not as great as you thought it was going to be. And again, you can apply that to the question that was asked. So, with my trusty piece of paper here, it occurred to me, because I've spoken before about numbers and letters. We've got T-A-R-O. So we've got T-A-R-O, is it? Yeah, T-A-R-O-T. A-R-O-T. So maybe this can be telling us, this is the Wheel of Fortune relates to the tarot, because the tarot is about, you go through something, you get to the end, you start again, and you go round and round and round. You go over the same things time and again, which is what happens in your life. You know, you have experiences. You tend to meet the same types of people over and over again. And you go through the same experiences over and over again. And I think with the tarot, or with this Wheel of Fortune here, it can be an indication that it's not so much that everything is going to change, but maybe what the lesson is instead of going round in circles like that, right, you begin to go round in a spiral where you're going through the same type of experiences because you're always learning from it, but instead of going through it on the same level, you begin to rise up a bit. So you've got more of an overview of the situation or the person or the condition. And then as you come back to it, meet it again, you're a little bit higher up. So you've got an even better view of whatever it is that the card represents. So yes, you're going round in circles, but you're also maybe going round in a more elevated way. So you're always rising up, and you've got an overview, or you've got a better understanding of how the situation fits in with the broader picture, we can say. So T-A-R-O. Okay, so T-A-R and O, right? Which is obvious. I say obviously, it's obviously a horoscope, right? So you've got sunrise, noon, sunset, and midnight. So we've got the 4 points of the day. So maybe you do something like, am I going to meet somebody? And you get the Wheel of Fortune upside down. Yes, and you're going to meet them at night. Do you know what I mean? Because the card is upside down. Whereas if the card is upright, yes, you'll meet them during the day, for instance. So we can't always look at the Wheel of Fortune upside down as being bad fortune or misfortune or things are not working out. It's maybe just telling you the conditions of the meeting or the conditions of the event, whatever it happens to be. So T-A-R-O. And so because I've mentioned this before with a horoscope, T is the number 4, which is the planet Uranus, which is invention and the unusual, the occult, unexpected change, unexpected benefits. So when the Wheel of Fortune is upright, you've got good things happening, unexpected things happening. We've got A, which is 1 for the sun over here. So it's sunset as well. So what's emphasized is the unusual and technology. And what's de-emphasized is the sun. So it's like this is individuality is being emphasized. So you may be a rebel or you may be unusual, and you promote your unusual take on whatever it is that is being asked about. Whereas the sun arriving at the sunset position is a bit like the normal way of doing things is fading, and it's time for it to disappear for a bit so that new unusual inventions can take their place. It's a bit like, I'm thinking of computers at this point, and it's a bit like before you had the normal way of doing data entry was to have hundreds of women, I think it was mainly women, in big rooms typing away and you get data entry cards. That was then. Now is you've got Excel spreadsheets and you key in the data and the program does the work for you, and that can be the difference between then and now. R is 2, which happens to be the moon. So you've got a certain amount of mystery with the Wheel of Fortune as well, because you've got the moon at midnight, where you've got this dark, mysterious time of day when you're going from one day to the next, and you don't quite know what tomorrow is going to bring. You know what today brought, but you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and the future is shrouded in darkness. And this can be why the Wheel of Fortune is a difficult card, because you can guess what's going to happen, but maybe you can't be sure the way you can with other cards, because the moon is down here, and what we've got rising is the O, which is 7, which is the planet Neptune. And Neptune is spiritual understanding or confusion. And so maybe when the Wheel of Fortune is upright, you've got, it's time for there to be spiritual understanding in your life. Whereas when the Wheel of Fortune is upside down, then you've got, you're confused. You don't know what to do, which direction to go in. So what do you say about spiritual understanding? And I just came back from a grocery store. I went off to think about what I might talk about in this video. And so on the way down, I was thinking about the Neptune rising and spiritual understanding. And I was remembering, if somebody says to you, I love you, what they mean is I love me. What they also mean is I love me. Right? And you think about the time you said I love you to somebody, you were full of love, you know, and you wanted to share it with the other person. But really it started with you, unless you were trying to manipulate them. Right? Because sometimes we do. But anyway, so I love you also, or maybe more correctly, means I love me. Right? So you're taking the situation, or taking what's said and understanding what the person means, and responding to what they mean, not so much just to what they say. This also means that if somebody says I hate you, what they mean is, what they really mean is I hate me. Because if you've ever said to somebody I hate you, what's really going on is you're so out of sorts with yourself that you don't want to accept the responsibility of that, or you don't see it, or you don't understand it, so you see it in somebody else. And so maybe with the Wheel of Fortune and Neptune rising at this point, spiritual understanding rising, you talk to the person or the questioner about thinking or understanding what people mean and not just listening to what they say. So that's one example that I sometimes use for spiritual understanding. But maybe you've got your own story or your own explanation or your own example that you might like to give. And this is where I mentioned write your own book. So you've got the idea that the Wheel of Fortune can represent the need for the beginnings of spiritual understanding, whatever that might mean to you. And you've got your own way of explaining what spiritual understanding is. And this is why you write your own book. So you've got the idea of this card is spiritual understanding, and spiritual understanding means this and this and this. And you tell your story, and the questioner will understand it. And they go off better able to handle the situation represented by the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so I was going to go with, I'm going to stop now because of the time. I don't want to go on too long. But I was going to go, so if you've, I don't know what I've done for you, or if I've done anything, but if you've got comments or questions, or you've got specific things you want me to talk about, leave them in the comment, because I did, and maybe I'll talk more next time. There's 10. Wheel of Fortune, number 10 is the Magician and the Fool. 1, 0. You know what I mean? So we could look at the Wheel of Fortune as being a combination of the Magician and the Fool. The Fool's a new beginning. That's why the Wheel of Fortune's a new beginning. But it's based on intelligence and thought and thinking it through a bit and having ideas. It's not just random throw stuff against a wall and see what sticks, or do something pointless and irrelevant and stupid and see if you can survive. It's not that kind of thing. Maybe that's what's going on with the Wheel of Fortune reversed. But upright, it looks like serious thought, as well as the understanding that it's time for a change and time for something new, and that's what the Wheel of Fortune can represent. Okay, so I'm rushing here to get, only because I don't know about the time. So let me just, so as I say, I'm not sure where I'm going over the next few days. I might suddenly be in England, and so I'll see what happens. So I say if I don't seem to be around, it's because I had to go away for a bit, but I'll be back. And so that was it for the day. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day. Okay, bye bye.